Welcome to Subscription Prescription, the podcast where you get the information you need to scale your subscription program. Hello and welcome to another dose of Subscription Prescription, the podcast where we help you figure out everything related to D2C subscriptions. I'm your host, Matthew Holman, and today we are going to be talking about SMS or text messaging and where it sits in the subscriber journey and whether you should be doing it or not. Now, to set the stage for this, I want to say that I know that a lot of brands out there, I'm reluctant to say most, but I do think that it might be most subscription brands are really, really nervous when it comes to SMS. And understandably so. In a world where just an email could prompt somebody to cancel, SMS is cutting through a lot of that inbox noise. It's going to be almost always seen, and you're reminding people that, hey, they have a subscription, and it's going to make them go cancel. Now, in the past, we've talked a lot about some of the reasons why this is a little bit of like a fear mindset, a loss aversion mindset, whereas you just don't want to communicate with somebody because you don't want them to leave. Right? I think when we say it out loud, it does sound a little ridiculous. But again, I understand when you see the numbers dip in that month because you were sending an extra email or you sent an SMS message. I understand that. But the point about what I'm going to get into today is that it is, for many of you, it is a missed channel that is actually hurting your business by not testing it effectively. And again, we can talk at length about ways you can structure some of these tests, but I do think that you should be looking at some of your opted in to SMS messaging subscription customers and testing some of these things and comparing them to non-SMS receiving customers, because this is what we're seeing in the space. And when I say what we're seeing, I want to add that first month of that subscriber journey, when people are figuring out your product, whether they're staying, whether they're going, is a critical time for you. So you have an opportunity there to educate, to empower, to address any potential issues, to make sure that product adoption goes right, because that product adoption is the number one indicator for how long they're going to be with you. The second thing is understanding control. People that do like your product, that do like your subscription, at points are going to face friction, whether they went on a vacation and didn't use it for 2 weeks, so they now have extra, whether there was a lifestyle change, whether they don't like that flavor as much anymore. There's a lot of opportunities here where it's not quite working for them. And your best opportunity in those instances is to reach them with options to adjust and update their subscription. Okay, hey, skip 2 weeks. Hey, we have an alternative product for that. Hey, we've got a different flavor you can try. And so SMS is one of these opportunities where you can get in front of people more so than you can with an email and engage with them. So when we've run this test with other clients, we do see higher LTV for people that are opted into SMS messaging and receiving SMS messaging. We do see a little bit of a spike in initial churn compared to, say, not sending them, but we do see long-term, in orders 2, 3, 4, and onward, stickier subscription customers that are lasting longer and as a cohort are outperforming non-SMS receiving subscribers. And there's a lot of reasons for this. The first one being you can engage with messaging to onboard people, sending them information about product tips. So again, what is the harm? Again, I often laugh at some of these situations that we see and that are faced with. If you send an SMS message the day your product is delivered, there's no bigger reminder to someone that they have a subscription than getting the physical package in the mail. So why not just double down and send an SMS message then to let them know that the package has arrived? Here are some best practices for making your first cup of matcha, or how you use our protein powder, or how your pet is going to respond to peptides, right? That's one point you can start doing. I do suggest testing a few additional messages, especially if you have a product that there are questions about the efficacy over time. Okay, so if you're selling a supplement that people don't feel immediately, right? Say it's like a testosterone supplement or a hormonal supplement of some kind. People aren't going to notice that in the first couple of days. It's going to take 7, 14, 28, 60, 90 days to start seeing results. So SMS messages in this instance do a really great job of helping people feel more confident in the product they're taking and driving product adoption. So that's a really critical point. If you have anything that makes your product complicated, tricky, hey, when you're mixing it, make sure you're using cold water instead of warm water, or make sure you're using the frother that we sent you instead of a spoon, right? Those are critical touch points that if somebody doesn't have a great or just even an okay product experience right away, they're gone. So that's why SMS can be so critical, is it's going to be more effective than email in doing those things, okay? Then the other part is when we look at renewals and billing reminders, right? And typically we talk about testing those within email and how that's a huge ton of real estate. Well, SMS, we don't have that opportunity, right? There's not a ton of real estate there. However, there is a lot of control available to your end user, okay? So we do see that what the goal with an SMS message is that we are trying to get anybody that needs a little bit of help or they're a little bit on the fence, that they can make that right there from the SMS message. So if they need to delay 2 weeks, it's really easy to do that. If they want to swap a flavor, it's really easy to do that. Hey, if they want to add a special as a one-time option, say creatine to their upcoming protein powder, it's really easy to do that. Write an SMS, takes 2 seconds, boom, they're done. They're happy, you're happy, everything's automated. Now, for anyone who is potentially canceling, I like taking the cancel option out of SMS, but you direct them to the portal where you have invested a ton of time and money in making that portal experience really dynamic, engaging, and that cancel flow is set up to address those concerns and try to deflect that cancellation. That is why that is there, okay? All right, so as we talk about some of the different ways that this is happening, I do want to bring up that there are a couple ways to approach this. You can use your Attentive or your Klaviyo to send these types of messages. If we're talking about, say, like onboarding and education, empowerment, I do recommend using those platforms, or there's one that we've partnered with on a few brands called Blueream that I think is really, really interesting. You can actually go to their site and just drop in your site and it'll build potential journeys for you really, really quick, easy, using AI so you can see what's possible. But then you're using a platform that is geared towards that education, that testing, that analytics. And then depending on the subscription platform you are on, there are some really great options. So Recharge's Concierge is leveraging a lot of AI and making those SMS messages. You can do kind of like static, like if somebody replies one, this is what happens, or you can make it more conversational so it feels like they're talking to a person. Skio's SMS is really robust as well, although it's a little bit more transactional in the sense of like you build out some of the options and answers and what people are there. But again, highly worth looking at doing that and testing that. It doesn't take very long to do that. I know that there's a lot of like, say, pushback on not wanting to have a second number for people to worry about or to manage. But I do think if we're looking at, say, I'm using our main number for the education and empowerment series and for campaigns or other types of communications, but for billing reminders, I'm okay using a secondary number through Recharge or through Skio, or again, depending on the platform you're on, you can still use Klaviyo or Attentive for that as well and use your same number if you want. The opportunity there is just too big. Again, when we look at our subscription brands and we see, hey, I am losing people when I do this, I think it's really important to think about, did you lose them or did you just lose them a little bit sooner than you would have already? The reality is they might have seen another renewal if they didn't get that message, but that would have been it, right? If somebody was already on the fence, they didn't like it, they're going to be gone. It's only a matter of time. And you might get one more order, or you might not. You might get a chargeback. You might get CX tickets. Those types of customers and not sending those things, even if you're just sending emails, can still be a bit of a headache. But alternatively, the goal of any subscription brand should be, how do I unlock my best customer? And how do I take an average customer on a journey that leads them to being a best customer? And you can't do that in a vacuum. You can't do that with nothing, right? If you're not messaging, if you're not leaning into that opportunity at the right times, in the right ways, you are losing people long term. You're losing on the opportunity to turn somebody who maybe had an okay experience into a 2, 3, 4, 5-year subscriber. Because when they have that control, again, I was a Dollar Shave Club customer for 7 years because 2 years in, I figured out how to set the cadence through an email, pop-up, going onto their site. It took a little bit of doing to set the cadence that worked for me for replacement razors. And that happens across the board, all types of different industries and brands. We want that experience to be compelling and feel like the customer is in control. If they know they're getting an SMS, they're that much more likely to trust you and to be reliant because they're not going to be as worried about forgetting. Okay. So I haven't really seen that too much with brands advertising the fact that if you opt into SMS, we'll text you that. So if you see any brands doing that, let me know because I would be really curious. But I do think that is the other part of that. Instead of that little trite statement in the subscribe and say buy box where it says pause, skip, or cancel anytime, I would love to see we text you before your order processes and see if that improves conversions, because I know that in almost every instance that we've seen, it will improve LTV as well. Okay, that's it for this week's dose. If you want any help setting up a test or thinking through some of the ins and outs of using SMS in your subscriber journey, please feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn or thesubscriptiondoc.com or leave a comment on any of the platforms where this podcast is listed. And I will see you next week for another dose of Subscription Prescription. That's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe so that you can get notified when new episodes come out each week on Tuesdays.